This tutorial will introduce you to the Prelude in D-flat major by Reinhold Glière. This is a very attractive piece for students. It's also on the current grade 6 ABRSM piano syllabus. Students like the flowing, rich harmonies of this piece if they can get past the challenge of the key signature for D-flat major 5 flats. So I'm going to give you some tips about how to tackle this challenge, and also one key component of the piece, which is called chromaticism. That's a particular use of harmony that is a key feature of 19th century Romanticism in piano music, and it means moving by half step to different harmonies rather than simply following the notes of a scale. So for example, if we're in D flat, and you may have learned to follow the steps of the scale but create chords with those. In this case, you're not going to even stay in D flat major for very long. You'll see lots of accidentals in the piece, and that also makes for challenging reading. So the first step I would suggest would be to identify the chords that you're playing. If I play a little bit of the beginning, it's such a wonderful flowing texture. There are definitely lines to follow, but there's not a clear melody and accompaniment. The interest is created by the chords. So every half measure you have a new harmony. I would go through the process of identifying what each of those chords is. So we start with D flat major, just to get you going. The next chord is F minor, a 3 chord, if you want to think of it that way, after the tonic, and then a 6 chord, B flat minor, and then F major, which is not in the key of D flat because of the A natural, but it's the dominant of B flat minor, which you just played, so a secondary dominant. Even if you don't know these functions, you can still look at the notes and build triads with them. I know this is B flat minor. I know those 3 notes make F major. And then the pattern actually repeats. Starting on a completely different chord, A major, but magically he ends up on the same chord as he started. Our key is D flat major. We start with a D flat major chord, and even after that weird shift, we arrive at D flat major again. And the way we do that is by a string of half steps that create these changes. So you'll hear this. There's another one. There's another one. And then between those 2 notes is a half step. So not every single step of this upper line is a half step, but those key changes are using half steps. This also occurs later on in the first section in measures 8 through 10. These are sustained notes in the melody. The first is a whole step, but every other after that is a half step until we arrive at our D flat. The D flat then repeats, but the inner notes of the chord are changing by half step. It's the same kind of sound. So you've identified chords, you've worked through the spelling of the chords, then I would suggest blocking each one of those when you know the notes go together. It's pretty much every half measure. Not only does that get your hand ready for what's coming next, but you're also hearing how the chords relate to one another rather than tackling the fingeriness of it right away. And this is really crucial to this piece. I'll give you one last hint as to how this kind of chromaticism works. So I said we arrived on the fourth chord for F major. And then we go a completely unrelated place, A major. But if you take this F major chord, the C goes up to C sharp, and the low note F goes down to E. Those are both half steps. Voila, there you are at our A major chord. F to A. That's the link between the first two phrases. Here's the introduction.